In just 12 minutes, get 10 powerful takeaways from the 3-hour conversation between pharma insider Brigham Buhler and Joe Rogan. Buhler uncovers how peptides is the real fountain of youth, the shocking truth about antidepressants, and why Big Pharma hides life-changing health solutions. Stay till the end. You won't want to miss this. Takeaway 1. Peptides as the real fountain of youth. Joe Rogan and Brigham Buhler begin by explaining why peptides are becoming the most exciting discovery in modern medicine. Buhler describes peptides as short chains of amino acids that are naturally found in the body. They are like small messengers that tell the body to heal, grow, and repair itself. Unlike many drugs, peptides are not foreign chemicals. They are already part of human biology, which makes them safer and more effective. One example Buhler gives is the peptide called GHK, also known as copper peptide. This tiny molecule keeps the skin elastic, helps wounds heal faster, and reduces inflammation. Yet by the time a person reaches their 40s, they have only about 30 to 40% of the GHK they had as a teenager. That drop is one reason why people age, lose skin firmness, and recover more slowly from injuries. If you replace that missing peptide, the body can behave as if it is younger again. This is why Buhler calls peptides the real fountain of youth. Another strong example he shares is the weight loss peptide GLP-1. Used correctly at a microdose, GLP-1 can help people lose fat while protecting their muscles and bones. When combined with another peptide called IGF, the results are even better because IGF helps preserve lean tissue. Buhler says compounding pharmacies have safely used this combination for years, but pharmaceutical companies are trying to patent it and block others from making it. The reason is obvious. They want to charge patients more than $1,000 per month when compounding pharmacies can provide the same or better therapy for a few $100s. Rogan reacts with shock when he hears how simple peptides could be, yet how far industry goes to hide them. Buhler sums it up clearly when he says that peptides are safe, found in nature, and could keep people healthier for longer. But big corporations see them as a threat to their profits. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. Antidepressants are not what we were told. The conversation shifts to mental health and how antidepressants have been marketed for decades. Brigham Buhler tells Joe Rogan that the story about depression being caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain was created by pharmaceutical companies. For years, people were told they had low serotonin and needed pills to fix it. But when scientists looked closely at the data, they found no real evidence of that imbalance. Large reviews of studies showed that SSRIs, the most common antidepressants, work only slightly better than sugar pills. On a 52-point scale of depression, SSRIs scored only 2 points higher than placebo, which is not enough to matter in real life. At the same time, these drugs cause serious side effects like suicidal thoughts, sexual problems, and emotional numbness. Joe Rogan points out that almost every school shooter in America has been on psychiatric medication, yet the media never talks about that connection. Buhler agrees and adds that lawsuits in the early days showed that companies even tried to hide evidence of violent or suicidal thoughts during trials. For example, he says exercise has been proven to be 5 times more effective at treating depression than antidepressants. Yet doctors rarely prescribe exercise because pills are more profitable. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3. ADHD and mental health testing is flawed. Buhler also reveals how diagnoses for ADHD and depression often come from shallow screening tools created by consultants who work for drug companies. These tests are simple questionnaires that ask if you fidget often, if you forget things, or if you avoid tasks that require focus. Joe Rogan even takes an ADHD test during the show and laughs at the questions. He realizes that if he had a boring job, his answers would look like he had ADHD, even though he does not. This shows how millions of people, especially children, were placed on strong drugs like Ritalin based on flimsy tests. Buhler shares his own story as a child. Teachers thought he was ADHD and wanted him on medication, but his parents refused. Instead, he was placed in a pre-first class with kids who wore helmets, and he felt he did not belong. He later discovered he was just dyslexic and hyperactive. If his parents had listened to the school, he might have spent his whole life on medication he never needed. For example, a child who is simply energetic and curious can easily be misdiagnosed and placed on drugs because the system finds it easier to control kids with medication than to change how education works. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4, psychedelics show massive promise. The podcast also dives into psychedelics, which Rogan and Buhler say may hold the key to solving addiction and depression in ways mainstream medicine cannot. One of the most powerful is ibogaine, a plant medicine known for treating opioid addiction. Studies show that one guided session of ibogaine helps 83% of people quit heroin or opioids permanently, and 2 sessions raise that number above 90%. No traditional rehab program comes close to that success rate. Mushrooms or psilocybin also show incredible results in treating depression. Unlike antidepressants, they do not carry dangerous side effects and cannot kill you because the lethal dose is practically impossible to consume. For example, Texas has already passed laws allowing veterans access to psychedelics like ibogaine and psilocybin because so many soldiers return with PTSD and addictions that regular medicine cannot fix. Rogan points out that if rehab centers worked as well as psychedelics, most would go out of business. Buhler believes these substances should be part of a person's right to choose their healing journey rather than blocked by outdated laws. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5, food and lifestyle drive disease. Buhler stresses that much of modern illness comes from the food people eat every day. He explains that ultra-processed foods and sugary drinks create chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, and eventually diseases like diabetes and depression. Rogan adds that when he eats a bowl of sugary cereal, he feels depressed and tired, which shows how directly food impacts mood. Buhler warns that even small changes in blood sugar can separate a healthy person from a diabetic. Yet a can of soda contains 8 to 12 teaspoons of sugar, far beyond what the body can handle. For example, when Buhler testified in Texas about removing sodas from school lunches and food stamp programs, some lawmakers mocked him by drinking Coke in the hearing. This shows how deeply food companies have embedded themselves in policy. Instead of teaching kids nutrition and exercise, the system allows soft drinks and processed snacks that create disease from childhood onward. We're halfway through the video. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're enjoying it, hit the thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. If you'd like to support us, please tap the thanks button below. It helps us keep making great content. Drop a comment and don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6, the right to choose your health. Both Rogan and Buhler argue that people should have the freedom to choose how they want to take care of their own health. Whether that is using peptides, stem cells, or psychedelics, patients should not be blocked by government rules designed to protect corporate profits. Buhler warns that if safe options are banned, people will turn to unsafe black market products, just like what happened with opioids. Rogan agrees and says that is why so many Americans no longer trust government health agencies. For example, many hospitals now refuse to prescribe compounded versions of GLP-1 peptides, even though they are safer and cheaper, forcing patients to buy the more expensive versions from retail pharmacies. Buhler says this is not about patient safety, but about industry pressure and corporate profit. He urges people to fire doctors who refuse to honor their right to choose where a prescription is filled. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. The system serves money, not people. After laying out the possibilities of natural healing, Buhler and Rogan step back and look at why people do not have access to them. The answer is simple. The system is designed to serve money, not people. Buhler recalls how drugs are dosed not for the best medical outcome, but for the highest insurance reimbursement. He says they are overdosing people because it reimburses more. It's not because it's better for the patient, it's because it's better for Wall Street. For example, GLP-1 drugs are often given at high doses that cause muscle loss and bone density problems, even though lower doses would work just as well. The reason is that higher doses bring in more money for insurance companies and pharmaceutical firms. This shows how the health of the patient is not the top priority in the current system. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. Regulators are captured by industry. Buhler makes it clear that the agencies meant to protect public health are no longer neutral. More than 60% of the FDA's budget now comes directly from the pharmaceutical industry. That means the very companies the FDA is supposed to regulate are also its main source of money. This leads to biased decisions where small compounding pharmacies are heavily inspected while giant corporations get away with serious violations. For example, Buhler's own pharmacy was inspected 3 times in 18 months, while more than 2,000 large pharmaceutical facilities have not been inspected for over 5 years. Some of these big facilities were even found to have rats and cat hair in sterile rooms, yet they continue to operate without serious punishment. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9, lobbying shapes medical rules. Joe Rogan listens as Buhler explains how corporations spend millions to lobby for rule changes that protect their profits. One trick they use is to push for drugs to be reclassified as biologics. A drug patent lasts 5 years, but a biologic patent lasts 12. On top of that, compounding pharmacies are not legally allowed to make biologics. This move would shut out affordable competition and leave patients stuck with high retail prices. For example, animal-derived thyroid medicine has been safe for more than a century, but pharmaceutical companies lobbied to shut it down by calling it dangerous. They are now preparing to launch their own patented thyroid biologic, which will cost much more and lock patients into their system for 12 years or more. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10, politics cannot escape pharma's grip. The final part of the discussion highlights how deeply politics is tied to pharmaceutical power. Brigham Buhler has worked with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who now leads Health and Human Services. Kennedy wants to open access to safe peptides and preventative care, but he and his small team are up against tens of thousands of entrenched employees with ties to industry. Joe Rogan adds that Donald Trump tried to negotiate lower drug prices, but companies simply raised prices in other countries to make up the difference. For example, Eli Lilly's CEO admitted that the company would increase European drug prices to offset any cuts in America. This shows that even when politicians try to act, corporations find ways to outmaneuver them. In the end, unless people demand real change, the system will continue to put profits ahead of public health. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.